Why do asymmetrical horror games die? Well, that's what we're here to discuss. Okay, I'm going to start this out by saying that I do not hate these games. I do not hate them. I do like them, but I do get upset and disappointed with them and their developers. And the other thing I want to say too, especially about Friday the 13th, because that's our first topic, is I know about the lawsuit between Sean S. Cunningham and Victor Miller and about what it did to the game. So let's move on. Friday the 13th, the game. Why did the game fail? Or why did the game have the problems that it did? Well, one, content-wise at least, was because of the lawsuit. It was not thrown at Gun Media, it just paused any content for the full future of the game to be made. Now, with that being out of the way, my main problem with Gun was how Friday the 13th was handled after that fact. Where I really feel like because they couldn't put any more content or anything else in the game, they should have really focused on to the frickin' fact of that they wanted to turn around and just pretty much work on fixing the game and getting the game running in a way you see it running now. We're very little glitches now, very little bugs now. But sadly enough to say, that took them up until a couple of months before the game's inevitable demise, which is December 31st of this month, of this year, that the game is going to be turned offline. And now, since the game's offline, I don't even know if you'll be able to play the single player content, which is only some missions and offline bots. Which the offline bots don't really offer a good challenge because even on hard mode, the AI is dumber than a sack of frickin' rocks. Now, with that being said, did I think the game was a failure? No. I always have told people that I think that this game went on the Friday the 13th franchise as a whole. Like, because everything, I mean, hell, Chad, Deborah, Victoria, you can look through those movies and they were all inspired by people within the movies. The one thing I will give Gun, and though credit where credit is due, I will give them, is the sound design, the levels, the attention to detail. Beautiful. Perfect. They did a great job of that, as they always do. I mean, hell, even with TCM, it's great on that level. But the problem is everything else in between. Where I think a YouTuber's video that I watched, and I'm going to steal what he said here, because I very much agree with him on it, is that Friday the 13th was a beautiful, glitchy, buggy mess. Like, the game was great when it worked, but you were asking for a lot, especially back when I first played it, for the game to work, even for one match. And that was kind of my problem with Friday. And shoot me in the foot, come after me, I don't care. Honestly, I was kind of glad the lawsuit happened, because I honestly looked at it as very simple as this. It's like, if they can't handle the game in its current state, what's going to happen when they actually put more content into it? What happens if we get the Grindel map or any of the others and keep getting survivors and more Jasons and all of that? The game's just going to be so broken and buggy and glitchy that it will not be playable. And that for me was just how I felt. And honestly, talking about all the other problems, with the glitches and bugs out of the way, they never did anything about the teamers, the rage quitters, the modders and hackers, especially on PC. That's why I was so glad this game didn't have crossplay, because there was so many problems this game had, to where, as we saw with TCM, adding in crossplay would have been very bad as a whole for the said game. And I'm glad it didn't happen, because this game already had a lot of problems that it didn't need more. Put it that way. Now, like I said, the game was not a failure by any freaking chance. It is going to die, though. That's why I'm including it. And I'm including it because I God honestly felt like there's something within the community needs to understand. Like, even if you love the game, people can say something negative about that said game and not be trying to be mean about it, trying to say to the developers, and the developers don't always need you to white knight for them. How to think. Like, sometimes these developers need to hear criticisms where it's due. And this is where I'm going to put this here. If you are a player of Friday, Predator, Ghostbusters, Evil Dead, or TCM, and you have a complaint, and say, especially if you're on a PlayStation 4 or 5, you have the ability to. You have the share factory. You're able to save clips and everything. And if your internet is good, I suggest you start up a YouTube channel and voice your grievances that you have with these companies. And do not let the people in the communities, now this is not everybody, but the people who do it, do not let them bully you into submission. Because the only way these games are going to get better, and these problems that I am talking about throughout this entire video are going to get better, is if the community is able to voice their frustrations. And now, hey, I'm going to talk about Killer Clowns from Outer Space at the end. But what happened with Predator, which we're also going to be talking about that, I think that we may see something a little bit different with Killer Clowns, hopefully, because, yeah, I mean, after Predator and Ghostbusters, Ill is hurting, because neither one of those two did very well, like at all, in any way, shape, or form. Just like TCM right now really isn't doing too well with gun media. And now it's like, I hate that that has to happen, but I do believe if these people are not going to listen to people, then these are the consequences that have to happen. They have to learn to get their heads out of their butts. And I know I'm not the only person within this community who feels this way. That both gun media and Ilphonics are just too busy with their heads up their own asses thinking their shit doesn't stink, like a South Park character, smelling their own farts, to actually hear anybody out. And that is sad. Because it's something that these games have problems. They need to be worked on. They need to be situated so we can have better games going forward. And like I said, if you have grievances and you have what I named out, do it. Now moving on to Predator Hunting Grounds. What you're seeing here is the 3 maps that were originally in the game. Overgrowth, Backwater, and Derailed. Excavation, Headquarters, and Airstrips were the 3 added in. That was it. 3 maps, 1 mode, which was Clash, that from what I heard from the community, nobody in Predator Hunting Grounds liked. Because it was just not fun to play. It was just essentially Call of Duty with Predators. When the 1 mode that everybody wanted didn't get added in. At all. Which I feel like was sad. God honestly. That the game did not get more than what we had in it. Now what you're seeing here is the weapons that we got with the Predators from the DLC. The Katana, the War Club, the axe, and the Alpha Sickle. That was it. Everything else was reskins. Just like the Predators and the DLCs. Like, we only got a couple that were original. Everybody else was either reskins, and that was it. No new weapons, no new... Now, the next 2 games I want to talk about is Ghostbusters: The Spirit Unleashed and Evil Dead. And, like I said earlier, Ghostbusters had the exact same problem. The game came out, it ran fairly decently. It was fun. But the more they updated it, the more they broke it. And the more they broke it, the more you started seeing the player base dwindle. To the point where I stayed in it for like a week, 2, got max level, started running into nothing but bots, even with my friend Rusty, when we were playing it. And yeah, we just both dropped it, because we were not dealing with Ilphonics bots. They're dumber than a sack of fucking rocks. Honestly, your freaking best bet would be to have a second controller and tie a fucking rock to it and use that as your damn teammate. Because you'd probably have a better experience than relying on Elphonics bots. Like, they're not good. And after that, we just dropped the game because it was just like there weren't players. There weren't people in it, and it was half a content problem, and the other half being that people did not want to play their game. And now I'm going to put this here. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Because I just showed you with Predator Hunting Grounds, and that's one of the reasons why I say that, God, honestly, if I was most people, I would say to not get the game upon its release. Because we do not know if Elphonics learned any lessons from Predator and Ghostbusters. I hope they did. I hope when the game comes out it has a story mode and, content like more than 3 maps and we get more than 3 in one mode. I hope the clowns can get actual weapons and new skills and perks and things of that nature, and they don't just sit there like they did in Predator and pretty much give everything to the survivor side. With the EMPs, the anti-cloaking devices, the rocket launchers, and all the other crap the frickin' people got. Which, don't mind you, they already had weapons that were super overpowered. Like, all you had to do was just use the pistol in the game, and boom, there you go. You're already OP. Do you want to be overpowered at Predator Hunting Grounds? If you still want to play that game, well, have I got the gun for you. Press R2 repeatedly, and that's all you gotta do. Do you want to play the Predator and Predator Hunting Grounds and piss off all the fire team members? Play with this weapon, and you will hear them cry all the way to Elphonics. Whee! Now, with my jokes out of the way, that's why I would say with Killer Clowns from Outer Space that I would, God, honestly wait a month, watch some videos on it, see how the game is, see what kind of content it comes out with, and then if you think it's for you, pick it up. If it comes out on Game Pass, maybe try it there. That's my hope, because if it doesn't, I'm not going to touch it. But, with what I said in that joke, this is something I wanted to kind of touch on before I hit Evil Dead the game. And that being the communities and everything as a whole. Because the same thing happened on Friday the 13th. When Gunn finally caught on that people were spending 20 minutes beating the unholy hell out of Jason in what they called bully squads. Which, that's exactly what they were. But the thing of it is, and it was the same thing in Predator, where in Friday, when they added in Jason's rage buff ability, that like pretty much he could only be stunned by the shotgun, the sweater, getting his mask knocked off, or a bear trap, or a pocket knife, everybody that I was seeing on YouTube, look it up if you do not believe me, was all sitting there crying like, Gunn, take this out. How dare you make Jason overpowered? Blah, blah. And it's like, you guys are the people who just want to sit there and beat Jason's ass for 20 minutes. And what you're not seeming to understand is stuff like that will hurt the game. Why do you think in Predator that players did not want to play against the fire team when they were so OP with the rocket launchers, that gun I showed, shit, their knives, their grenades, the EMPs, you name it, could sit there and decloak the Predator and people were just laying into him. It's like playing against that type of stuff is not fun. That's the same problem that people are having at TCM right now. They're playing the family. For some people, not everybody, but for some, it's not an enjoyable experience. It's the experience where you want to beat your head against the fucking wall. And that's another problem that I see with these games right here. Is there's always overpowered mechanics, or it always seems like there's something for the survivors to do to sit there and troll the killers. That's why I do not believe Wes, like I said in my previous video, when he was like, oh, we want to make a party game. We want people to sit here and be like, man, bro, what would you do? No, I don't believe that. Every time I hear Wes say that, I roll my goddamn eyes. Because from what I saw from Friday, and now with Texas, it's just like, yeah, no. Like, if you guys really wanted to do that, this wouldn't be a problem. And it's the same with Elle. Like, I mean, hell, even in Ghostbusters. Now, most people didn't want to do it because it was very freaking goddamn cheap. But literally, all you had to do was stun a ghost, and they couldn't float up. Stun them towards the ground, throw out your freaking trap, and boom, instant caught. There was almost no way they can get away with it or get away from it. I literally had a match where I watched one guy knowing where the ghost was spawned, where his rifts were, and was pretty much running from boom, 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 boom. Floor catch him, boom, run to the next freaking rift. Boom, catch him, run to the next rift. Boom, catch him, run to the next rift. It's like, you got to think to yourself, how is that fun or a fun experience for the ghost players? How's it a fun experience for Jason to have 8 people beating the shit out of him for 20 minutes? How's it a fun experience for the Predator to have the same problem? He's supposed to be the ultimate hunter, not the other way around. How is it fun in Evil Dead the game for you to summon your boss demon and for 4 people just to run up and boom, it's dead before you even get control of it? Like, it's not a fun experience, and that was also kind of the problem with Evil Dead the game, where the content was a problem, the bug fixes and everything else is a problem, but also that. Like shit, I tried to get back into it like a month after they said they fixed that problem, and I still had people doing it to me in the match I played. Like, I had my Kandarian boss demon up to its max level in the game. I pretty much summoned him, heard the roar coming out of the ground, and it's like saw 3 to 4 guys running up at me, and then boom. I didn't even get control of my demon before I was already down, and I'm like, dude, fuck this. This is not a fun fucking experience when that is how OP people are. And that can go into talking about they like these developers almost always say that they want this to be a fun experience, and it's just like, well, this is why you need to test everything, because it's like I don't know if it's on purpose or what, but it's almost seemingly to me like you're always leaving in overpowered stuff, and it seems to be an issue within your game. It was an issue in Friday before the Rage Buff ability. It was an issue in Predator. It was an issue in Ghostbusters. It was an issue in Evil Dead. And the only game that I see that, or asymmetrical game that I've seen that's doing very well for itself is Dead by Daylight. The game is not for me. I'll say that, but I got to admit and give credit where credit is due. The game is doing great content, you name it. The game is doing very well for itself. And this is something that I was just talking about, where it's like, you could learn from your competitors. Like, I feel like Gunn and Ill could really stand to learn a thing or two by looking at the people who made Dead by Daylight, as much as I may not like the game, and be like, hey, this is what we should do. How to think. Like, we should focus in on doing this. We should focus in on bug fixes and getting our game in a good working order before release, getting our game content put in it before we ship it out to customers and asking them to pay 40 goddamn plus dollars for our game and our content. Like, it's a problem that I'm seeing within the asymmetrical horror game genre that I honestly feel like, because Predator did not do well, Ghostbusters did not do well, because both it and Evil Dead were dead within a year. Evil Dead was dead within a year. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry. And now we're seeing the same thing with TCM. Like, it's already lost on PC alone. It's already lost like 90 to 95% of its player base. And I keep checking it on my phone, and they're lucky if they maybe get like 1,000 people back. That when they had like 17,800. Like, they're lucky if they get even a smidgen of those numbers back. And that's not good. And it seems to be the problem. And this is the reason why I wanted to make this video. Because I don't want to sound like I'm being mean to these developers. And I don't want to try to undermine what they do. It's like, but like I previously stated in my previous video, that yes, I see what I see, and I have to call it what I freaking feel like it is. And a lot of what I see, and the only word that I know how to use to describe it, really would be incompetency. Really would be that you need to learn how to do better at what you're freaking doing before it ends up hurting you in the long run. It's exactly what I feel like it's happening right now with Elphonic. Now, I want people to understand this. It's like, am I just trying to be mean, rude, or hateful? No. This is coming from a place of worry, but also a place of love. I can seem like I'm a little bit of a dick because I'm a little bit rough around the edges. I say what I say, and I can say it the way I say it because I'm hoping that somebody hears it, and I'm hoping somebody can kind of get what I'm saying. I mean, hell, even if it's for some of the developers who are making these games, like Killer Clowns. I will actually admit it. I was excited for it until I heard Elphonics was going to be working on it. Because I heard that it was one of the people who left Elphonics, and I'm like, ooh, maybe, you know, he's doing this, and maybe he's gotten tired of the crap. But as soon as I saw that logo, pretty much it was the same thing about the Predator hunting ground for me. My heart went out my butt. Because I was just like, yep, I know exactly what this game's going to be. Same with Ghostbusters. And it's like, you know what? A game should not fill you with that. A game should not fill you with dread because you know the fucking developers. You know you're going to have to deal with the bugs, the glitches, and everything else. And I'm not trying to say that any game should be perfect. But when you're dealing with a gun media game or an Elphonics game, it's not even like they're even close to fucking perfect. Everybody that I've seen on YouTube right now is talking about these games being glorified fucking betas, and I agree with them. They are. I don't even think we're going to get a beta for Killer Clowns. I don't. Which has me fucking really goddamn worried. And I'll put this here. If this game bombs, I think Elphonics is done. Especially how their community was with Predator and how bad Ghostbusters did. I don't think there's no bouncing back from it. Because I saw their freaking goddamn forum. One of my friends showed me it and told me to go in there and shadow read. And that's exactly what I did. And goddamn, their communities were ripping Elphonics to shreds. Gun's not very far behind. And that's sad. Because it's like, is this what it's going to take for you guys to have to fucking learn your lessons? Especially when you've got people like me and other content creators on YouTube who were all trying to help you and tell you, not really tell you how to do your game, but just trying to help you with giving you ideas and things of that nature. And your heads are too far up your own backsides to freaking be like, okay, you know, maybe they're right. Like, it's something that has to give. Like right now with TCM, I've been hearing everybody talking about the lobby issues. And Gun's like, well, it's not on our side of the servers. And it's just like, no, it's not. It's on the freaking fact that you do not have any penalties for rage quitting. You have no penalties for lobby dodging. You have no penalties for freaking people who only want to play one map versus the other. Or don't want to go against one killer or survival versus the other. How to think. Like, until you, like, you know what? Just to make people happy, I'm going to give a fix here. The only way that I see this problem being fixed is either DC penalties or, and people are going to hate me for saying this, that once you get into the match lobby and that lobby's full, the match instantly starts and you are locked into that match until the match ends. You cannot rage quit, you cannot DC, you cannot leave. It's the only two ways I see to stop it. Or that, or I do feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre will be the next Ghostbusters and the next Evil Dead the game. Year and a half. And it's like, and that's something that Gun needs to get out of their own butthole with. It's like, okay, it may not be on your side of the server, but it's still happening because of the way you made your game. And it's like, and this is something that you should have known from Friday the 13th. You had people DCing. You had people rage quitting. All of that shit was happening on Friday. And you can tell that they do not learn from their previous mistakes. They just keep going and making the same fucking mistakes over and over and over. Same with Elphonics. And that's something they really have to stop. They really have to stop making the same mistakes stuck on fucking repeat. Well, this has been the Weird Butt Network. This has been Neo. And you know what? I hope you have a nice day. There's a comment section down below. If you agree with me, if you don't, let's go. Let's have a good discussion. See you there. I wanted to tack this in on the ending, just to prove a point. Looking at Alien vs. Predator back for the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. A game that I would consider to be part of the asymmetrical horror sci-fi community. This game came out It had 3 story modes, one for the Predator, one for the Alien, and one for the Fire Team. Its multiplayer was rich with content, multiple modes, and everything of that nature. And honestly, one of the reasons that I said what I said about Predator Hunting Grounds is because this game constantly got brought up in comparisons to Predator Hunting Grounds. And it's like, unlike a lot of the communities, nobody got pissed off that this game got brought up. People were actually in agreement that they wish Predator Hunting Grounds was more like this. That people wanted that game to have as much content as this one. And that's going to bring me up to my next point right now. And that point being that I always hear people saying, oh, you shouldn't be bringing up other games when it comes in contrast to TCM or Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game. And now, I would look at Destiny. And another game that should have actually looked at Destiny and Destiny 2, saw what they did right, saw what they did wrong, and work off of it. And that is a game called Anthem. Because a lot of Anthem's problems really were that it did not look at its competitors, and actually, if you know the history of this game, they were actually told they couldn't look at their competitors, and that hurt the game. Because the game felt very lackluster next to Destiny, and they always touted it as being the Destiny killer. And it's one of the reasons why people need to stop saying this in the asymmetrical horror genre. It's like, you know what? Comparisons are not bad. Can you compare TCM to Dead by Daylight or to Predator, Ghostbusters, or Evil Dead? Yes, you can, and you should. Because you know what? That's what needs to be done within the asymmetrical horror community, is we have to start understanding that we need to have these conversations. Just like the looter shooters or MMOs or MMORPGs or whatever. It's like we need to start having conversations when conversations need to be had, because we need to be able to see the truth for exactly what the truth is. And say if one ASIM game comes out and it's rich with content and it's everything the players want, then it should not be a bad thing that other people are looking at it and being like, hey, you know what? This is what every ASIM game should be from now on. Because it is a problem that we're having within the ASIM horror community, that we're not getting games rich with content upon release.